The premise of this is that your business is essentially limited by mindset. How do you change your mindset? How do you get out of a fixed mindset? Or how do you improve if you have a growth mindset? How do you get to that next level? What do? Take action, don't overthink it, just go do stuff. But there's a lot how you sell yourself, there's a lot how you sell what you do. We used to say, instead of I'm selling books, we used to say, I help people get their homework done faster. So ask yourself, what is your mindset? You kind of in this entrepreneurial growth mindset at this moment, or do you make employee type decisions? Well, guys, I'm so glad to be here. It's my second time at United Real Estate Solutions. I did another talk on how to build an unbeatable sales process. She's got the YouTube link if you want to watch that. If you've never been professionally sales trained, it's sort of an overview on your sales process and stuff. So just thankful to be back. And thanks for going through my book. And what Lori said was so nice. And I don't know, some people have been saying that to me. Hopefully most people enjoy it. I did go to a keynote in Morristown, and a lady came up to me after, I've been reading your book, we need to talk. So that was crazy. So, but we're here now, and today we're going to be talking about a mindset shift, and it's really good for a lot of new agents. And, you know, I always think that you can teach an old dog new tricks too. So if you've been in here 20 something years or anything in between, you'll learn something from this. And it's sort of it's all about mindset, just like my book is all about mindset. And, the premise of this is that your business is essentially limited by mindset, okay? And so we'll go through a few different things. Hopefully you'll get something, like one thing. That's the goal. You just pick one thing that you're like, man, I'm gonna really grab a hold of that and maybe apply it to your business, because you're all essentially entrepreneurs at this point. And I hope that it's like conversational, enjoyable, all that kind of stuff. Does that sound good? Okay, sweet. And we'll have a little Q&A at the end as well, and I'm gonna be giving away some free stuff today.
Hey, am I
Give away some free stuff today. There we go, free stuff. So I've got a Facebook lead generation guide. So if you've never generated leads on Facebook or don't know how, and you're like, man, I need leads, there's a little Facebook lead generation guide we'll give you guys. So does that sound good? All right, we got some slides here. I wish we had a clicker. Oh, and today's sponsor, Summer Reed. Give it up for Summer.
your clicker so you can move around?
I think, nah, it'll be fine. Nah, it'll be fine. That might, yeah, I'm sure. That'll be good. Thanks, though. So Samar, she sponsors like almost all of our events. She's our biggest sponsor, Best Year Yet Conference, is a conference that we now host annually in Knoxville for entrepreneurs just like you guys. And she's also a client. I've worked there for like 6 months. Like her business has grown like crazy, and they're all about service and helping realtors close deals faster. So it's like her whole thing. So if you're somebody who appreciates that, you should talk to her after this. Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, a couple of you do, most of you don't. I'm from Johnson City, Tennessee. Any Johnson City people here? That's okay.
A long time ago.
Did you?
Actually, in Irwin.
In Irwin, yeah, we used to play soccer. There's a soccer complex, this tiny town in the middle of nowhere, indoor. And so we used to drive through Irwin all the time, actually. So small world. That's awesome. Well, that's where I grew up. I ended up going to the University of Tennessee here in Knoxville. I basically stayed ever since, so I've lived here about 8 or 9 years. Got married a couple years ago, and that's actually the reason I started the business that I'm doing now, called the Knowledge Gap Company. Before that, I was in door-to-door sales, so I sold 80 hours a week on straight commission educational books, apps, websites, all over the country, Oklahoma, Virginia, Texas, basically anywhere. And I was really good at it. I was in top 0.1% producer. I could basically go to a town anywhere in the country. I think there's some stats I'll show you here in a second, and build about a $275,000 of revenue business in about 12 weeks, knowing nobody. So networking, got really good at it. I was running a sales force, about 35 reps when I was 24, producing about $1.4 million in book sales, okay? Book sales. In fact, our best summer of growth was during COVID, when everyone thought that you couldn't talk like humans. But you know, if you think outside of the box, like we're gonna be talking about today, you can just research where there's no cases. Right? Wild, right? There's ways around anything if you think it through. I got a ton of social media experience from starting a fitness startup called Elevate Wellness. We sold fitness coaching through Instagram messages, Zooms, and that's it. I never met a client in person, which is kind of wild. So we got some of that, and I have a YouTube channel, podcast now. So now 2023, January, I started the Knowledge Gap company. So we are a business growth company, and basically what we do is we work with entrepreneurs from tons of real estate agents, all the way to, multi-million-dollar organizations like an engineering firm that we're working with right now that sells abrasives, analyze businesses, and figure out all the ways that you can actually grow your revenue. There'll be a little slide on that at the end. So as we go through today, at the end there'll be the QR code for some of those free exercises and things like that. And if anyone wants to meet at the end, talk about how to grow their business at all, we have a little link that you can schedule or come talk to me afterward, stuff like that. We're always open-minded to chatting. Nothing you have to sign up for or anything. If coaching is up your alley, though, great. If not, no worries, we'll be friends. So that's what I do now. So one of the reasons I'm good at talking about this, the employee mindset versus the entrepreneur mindset, is that I've never had a salary job. I actually don't know what it's like. Okay, now I was just talking to a few people. I think Jennifer said she was a teacher before. Jessica was more event marketing. That was a 1099. That's not salaried, right? But who in here has had a salary job? Okay, perfect. So, good. I've not. I don't know. I don't even know. I don't get it. I've always been straight commission. That's it. I'm in charge of my destiny. It's my work, nobody else, and the income is limitless. Yeah, I've always been in that kind of ballpark. So here's some of my sales stats. Yada yada, YouTube channel stuff. Here, best week in sales. Again, this is again just for credibility. I used to not, because I'm young. It's good that I'm young though. Okay, good young voice here, especially talking about anything to do with branding or what's happening nowadays with sales, right? I mean, I grew up in it. I had a 59% chance that people would let me in their house. Do you know what that's like? It means that you're more likely, if I were to knock on your door when I was selling books, that you're more likely to let me in than tell me no at the door.
Because you look so young.
Because I look so young, like 12. They thought I was a child.
Yeah. Grow a beard, you'll look over.
I don't even know if I could grow a beard, to be honest with you. But no, actually the reason that happened, and it's so funny, if you watch the Unbeatable Sales Process video, it's really having to do with referrals and how you sell yourself and how you disarm people, actually. There's definitely a visual component to, we used to wear fanny packs. Josh did 7 years of door-to-door sales too. We used to wear fanny packs because we were selling to moms. And what screams, I'm not dangerous other than a fanny pack, right?
I'm sick of that.
We didn't need them. They really didn't do that much. But it made us look harmless, right?
Wear a fanny pack? Yeah.
Wear a fanny pack, 100%. I'm sorry, you're not thinking that guy's a criminal wearing that fanny pack, okay? But there's a lot to it. There's a lot how you sell yourself. There's a lot how you sell what you do. We used to say, instead of I'm selling books, we used to say, I help people get their homework done faster. Mom's like, oh, cool. Come on, that sounds great. That's what anyway. We're not doing sales today. Goal today is to help you start thinking outside the box and to understand what it's like to be an entrepreneur versus being an employee, and what that basically constitutes. And it's gonna be a lot of exercise. I'm gonna ask you guys questions of what you think. There's gonna be a few blank slides, I believe, throughout this presentation where we're gonna hear what you think, okay? You ready to rock? Okay. As everyone stands up. Not ready to rock. All right, these are 5 things we're gonna cover if you're taking notes. 5 things we're gonna cover taking notes. Okay, all the stuff at the end. Okay, what do you think is the true limiting factor of business growth? Mindset, 100%. Why mindset? Why do you guys think mindset, she was paying attention to what I said earlier, why do you think mindset is the limiting factor?
You've talked yourself out of doing anything before you even start.
Can you say that a little bit louder?
You talk yourself out of doing anything to progress without, before you even start.
Right.
Before you even try.
Okay. So you're saying that business growth is limited by the voice in your head because it does not allow you to, what was the last part? Do something.
Yeah,
action.
right.
Take action. So everybody write down inaction. The reason that mindset is the limiting factor of your business is simply inaction. Inaction. That's it. That's it. If you want to grow the business, it's literally just an action thing, okay? We put up these walls. My rookie year selling books, I used to think that making $10,000 in a summer as a college student was really, really good. And then the second summer I sold, I made $40,000 in a summer selling books as a college student. I was like, that's really, really good. And a couple summers later, I more than doubled it. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. I used to think that how someone can make $10,000, $12,000, $13,000 a week is absolutely insane. And then I did it, and it's like, whoa, that's crazy. and just following through on the actions. Okay, so if you get anything out of this, take action. Don't overthink it. Just go do stuff. Okay, don't sit twiddle thumbs. Okay, the reason this is important is because as an employee, what are you paid for as an employee?
Your time.
You're paid for your time. Then, at the end of the day, I mean, the barrier for exit is that you don't mess up, right? Right? You just do enough is usually the employee. And that's honestly a lot of the culture in most employee jobs, right? My first job, I guess this wasn't salary, this is hourly. My first job was Dairy Queen, and there's different employee type jobs out there, but that Dairy Queen job was very toxic. Everyone was stressed out, they hated it, everybody's complaining, right? You're just trying to follow the thing. You got a set of instructions in front of you, right? And that's usually how employee type jobs go, right? Well, entrepreneurship, do you have exactly the perfect set of instructions right in front of you? No, you don't, right? And you got to start thinking outside the box, right? So ask yourself, what is your mindset right now? So everybody write down, okay, what do you think your mindset is right now? Are you an employee kind of mindset? Is that where you come from? Is that how you kind of think right now? Just be honest with yourself too. Man, nobody has notes. People need some notepads. But these young people over here, they're got you can use your phones, okay? It's not gonna hurt my feelings. This is interactive here, okay? Just write down what you actually think you are. Are you kind of in this entrepreneurial growth mindset at this moment, or do you make employee type decisions? Do you wait for somebody to tell you what to do? That's a good differentiating. If you need someone to tell you what to do, you're probably on a employee or fixed mindset, as I would call it. Okay? If you don't need someone to tell you what to do, you're a self-starter, you figure things out, you're probably leaning more the entrepreneurial way, right? And again, you got to be really honest with yourself, because I think most of us aren't. We did a survey the other week. We were doing a team meeting with a wholesale real estate company and their sales squad. We asked them, rate yourself 1 to 10 on these top 5 qualities, values of the company. And these are 19 to 25-year-olds that we did this little survey with. And what do you think their answers were to most of these qualities? 1 to 10.
10.
They mostly said 10. And isn't that how we rate ourselves? We take some sort of self-evaluation. We always give ourselves a little bit more, grace. Exactly. So when we coach with clients, we're the objective, third-party accountability, straight-up honesty, and we just tell them how it is. It's well, we told those you're not a 10 on any of these, none of you, And without going into too many stories, there's you could just take a snapshot and look at their life or their financial situation. You can see it, right? But we do that to try to make ourselves feel good, right? And you do need to feel good, by the way. But you need to also realize where you're at. Okay, so if you've had a job, you build habits, right? And those habits determine your actions, right? And if your habit is to what Marlene said, to talk yourself out of, or to say I'm not good enough, or whatever, you're stuck. You develop a limit, and that's what I would call a fixed mindset. Okay, a lot of definitions for a fixed mindset on the internet. That's what I would call it. This is too hard. This is good enough. Okay, so another concept I want you to write down. But not you guys. Don't write. Not you guys. Okay. Everybody else.
Paper. Yeah, I'll go get you some. What's up? I'll go get you some.
That's good. Thank you. I appreciate it. That's what I should ask for at the beginning. Pay for everybody. So everybody write down. Compete with yourself. Compete with yourself. Has anyone ever heard of this concept? Compete with yourself. We got a couple hands. Okay. Now ask yourself, do you actually do that? Do you actually do it? So what does it mean to compete with yourself? So if you've never heard of competing with yourself, it just means that you're the only person in the entire world who actually knows if you're giving your best. You're the only person. Okay? And the reason that's super important is because if you don't give it your best, and no one's going to tell you to give it best because you're an entrepreneur, you'll never reach your potential. Hence the title of the book here. Yes, paper. Thank you so much.
Go out. You go see.
So concept number 1 is take action, right? And concept number 2 is compete with yourself, right? You may be taking action, but is it your best action? Right? Your limit and your gauge, your litmus test should be: is it really my best? Am I competing with myself, or am I comparing myself to other people? That's a huge thing too. I'm a really competitive person. On the Enneagram, I'm a 3. An achiever, we like to achieve things. If you go to my office, I kid you not, there's just every award I've ever gotten. Somewhere in that office, display. Does anybody else do that? Do you do that, Marlene? Yes, Laura does that. That's just how my brain works. I want to remember. I want to get to the next thing. I want to do all these things. And in the achiever, one of their biggest issues that you have to overcome is competing. Oh, like your motivation is beating someone. Why is that unhealthy? Right? You can come throat, right? You can. What if you beat everybody in the room? Now what? So when you build a business, when you're an entrepreneur, you want to start with the end in mind. And if you beat everybody, there's your end. But that may not be your actual goal or purpose. Does that make sense? So compete with yourself. So first thing, if you're not, right, action, overthinking. Second one's competing with yourself, okay? So how do you change your mindset? How do you get out of a fixed mindset? Or how do you improve if you have a growth mindset? How do you get to that like next level? What do you do?
Gain knowledge.
Yeah, gain knowledge, right? Educate yourself. I also say surround yourself with awesome people. You kind of just osmosis, get the right things you need to know. But this is actually why we call the company the Knowledge Gap Company. So we believe that anything you want to do in life, it could be sports, it could be whatever it is, a certain level of growth in your business, being whatever it is that you can think of that you might want to do, is completely possible, okay? You just don't know how to do it yet. We agree? Agree? Possible. That's why it's called the Knowledge Gap Company. We call those knowledge gaps, right? And those inhibit growth, right? So we don't know what we don't know, and that's the third concept, okay? So we don't know what we don't know, so be a student of the game. Be hungry to ask questions, right? So in action, compete with yourself, and realize you're not the best. Okay? And that's hard for people, by the way. That's really hard for people. You know, I know we're in this like setting, but like when you get out there alone, this is where this matters. Because that book, there's a chapter called The Cynic Within. You guys know what I'm talking about? Get that little voice? Just take a break. You know? Now rest is good sometimes, okay? There's good planned rest. But sometimes it's when we're rested, maybe we're overly rested, we slept in, right? And we're just doing this thing we hate. But man, it's good for us. You get that guy right there, little cynic, talking to you in the ears like, just do it after you go hang out with your friends, whatever, right? Mow the lawn first, distraction. Does that make sense? And so you've got to beat that cynic within, okay? You got to fight that. It's that ego that wants to hold you back from being like making you feel like you're the best. It's okay. It's good enough. Take a break. Now listen, if you're working 80 hours a week, yes, you need to rest. Okay. If you're somebody going that hard, like you actually, it's like if you don't rest or have a vacation every now and again, it's like going to the gym every day and not eating. You will burn out and you will pass out. Okay. All right. Cool. So knowledge, right? It's knowledge. Okay. I don't know why this has got the other bridge knowledge gaps here. So employee mindset. So what do you guys think if we could define more of an employee mindset? Let's broaden that out. We all get the concept, right? We're sort of told what to do. We're kind of in this slot, right? But let's go more. What are some qualities of an employee mindset, do you think? Let's shout them out. We can write them down as we go. Someone for me.
Work in a box. They don't really think outside the box much. Maybe because leadership has told them, you need to do it this way, and you're not allowed to think outside the box. So I think sometimes employees have limiting beliefs. Like before I became a realtor in 2012, since I've been 15, I worked for corporate America. I was told what to do. I was given a salary. I had an employee mindset. And I was always, going to my vice president. Now, is this good? Do you like it this way? And so it was a big transition for me to switch from that to an entrepreneurial mindset from a restaurant. I became a realtor and so worked myself. And I think sometimes they can have limiting ideas and not really know how to think outside the box for themselves.
Yeah, write that down. Inside a box, right? So that's an employee mindset. They have a box that they've sort of thought of, right? This is what is normal, right? Do you guys know how like Adidas, Nike, any like the major corporations, you know how like basically those were founded? Okay, this sentence I'm about to tell you was I heard this first in Las Vegas by this guy who had started a solar panel company 5 years ago, and this really broke it home for me. Like really helped me understand what this actually means and kind of break out of the employee mindset, or like just sort of do what you're told mindset that school kind of preaches to. And he was basically like, yeah, any of those companies started with one person with a crazy idea, and they enthusiastically shared about it. And then now you have like companies like that, Nike and Adidas. That's how it started. Just some crazy idea outside the box, someone else hadn't thought of. Everybody else thinks they're crazy, probably, right? But enthusiastically going after it, and then people started jumping on that enthusiasm train, and then it grows and grows. And you think constitutes employee mindset? What do you say?
Doing just enough.
Just enough, right? So put down just enough. All right, what's another one? Comfortability. Yes, expand on that for me, Lauren, right?
Yes.
Expand on that for me.
They don't want to get out of their comfort zone and to go do something that is unfamiliar to them to grow themselves. They just like familiarity of where they're at. It's a safer environment to go.
100%. And what causes the comfort zone? What creates the line, you think?
Sometimes insecurity, I think. Yeah. Sometimes laziness. I mean, there's just some lazy people like
Repetition.
You're all good at
Repetition, status quo?
what it is you really want.
Sure, absolutely. You don't feel good enough. What do you say?
No risk, no reward.
No risk for.
Like a lion in the zoo. You give him the meat all he wants, but he'll never go out and hunt again. And so the very thing that he thinks is comfort is the very thing that's destroyed.
I like that. That was good. Very thing that's giving you comfort is probably the thing that's destroying you. That's really, really important. Again, I don't mean rest. Rest is good. There's a chapter on rest in the book. It's really, really good to rest, but just to be comfortable all the time, right, creates issues. I love it. Okay, so you're comfortable, okay? We'll come back to sort of that line in a little bit, go deeper on it. Okay, one more thing you think in employee mindset box here.
And with that, everything, they deployed in that.
You stay within your responsibilities that were assigned to you. So you don't go out of your way for somebody, like you just stick with, you know.
Yeah, you think there's one way to do it. Write that down. You think there's one way to do it. That's so important. One way to do it, and I'll add one more. You clock in, you clock out. You clock in, you clock out. Now listen, there is a healthiness to rest. Okay, I'm hitting this really hard. Like having a point where you just say, I'm not taking phone calls for 2 hours is actually really good, and I recommend it. But I got, 9 to 5 o'clock, union break. It's like you're an entrepreneur. That's not how you're paid anymore. Or you're paid by results, right? So your time is money. You're not paid on time. Does that make sense? Okay. So employee mindset right there will hold you back. It will crush you in this type of industry. Okay. All right, do you guys ever heard of an intrapreneur? An intrapreneur? Anybody want to guess what an intrapreneur is? See if somebody will jump out of the comfort zone we just talked about. Man, that's the comfort zone's strong, creeps up on you. What?
It's like an introverted business owner?
No, that is intuitive. That is intuitive. Very true. So intrapreneur is somebody who works within a business, okay, but they have freedom, okay? In fact, most people here, in general, if you're brokered, okay, with any real estate company, any realtor in the whole world is an intrapreneur, but they are an entrepreneur. But there's a lot of paths there. I'll explain the difference. Okay, so an intrapreneur, you're not taking on the risk if, something happens to United Real Estate, Solutions. That happens to them, not you. That's what sets the intrapreneur apart from the entrepreneur. If you're the entrepreneur, if that business goes under, now you should have an LLC, right? But the business go under, you're taking all the risk. So an intrapreneur is nice because you have less risk, right? But still limitless income. But you have less income per maybe transaction, would you say? Does that make sense? But you don't have to deal with all the legal nonsense. You don't gotta, we do all this stuff here and there and all the back end stuff. Does that make sense? So I was an intrapreneur for 7 years when I was selling bookstore to door. They had all the things. They had like a little marketing. They had like customer service number they could call. I just sold the stuff. Made some commission, felt great, sold the stuff, maybe recruited some people because that was part of my job was recruiting and leadership and all that kind of stuff. But there was a greater system that took on all the risk, right? If I didn't sell, I didn't make money, sure. But if I just made money, there was nothing really bad that could happen to me. Okay, so the intrapreneur is a great place to build skills. Great place to build skills. And it's the right place to get away from the employee mindset, right? But it's hard sometimes to get away from that employee mindset because you have safety nets. Does that make sense? Which is why some people can come to real estate and struggle because that safety net's not pushing you to do or die, okay? You guys ever heard of Sun Tzu? Okay, Write Sun Tzu down. Good luck on spelling. Just kidding, I'll tell you. TZU is his last name. Sun Tzu. He wrote a book called The Art of War. Really, really old, awesome, book here. So I want you to write on your page, 2 boxes, one with 3 sides and one with 4 sides. So 3-side sort of box, but there's an opening. 4 sides closed. Right next to each other. Right next to each other, okay?
Opening at the bottom.
Opening at the whichever direction you want. We're intrapreneurs here. Think outside the box, I don't, whatever you want to draw. If you drew a pink, dog with some, flippers on, I don't, whatever, I guess. I'm not going to come police you. This is for your benefit, not mine. That's entrepreneur mindset, okay? Okay, so you got your boxes there, okay? So you got one closed, you got one 3 sides. Okay, so Sun Tzu, this is a strategy book for war, okay? Chinese guy. And he said, which army, where will you have the least amount of casualties if you're attacking an army, where you surround that army, or if you leave a way out? Which one will cause you're the attacking army, right? Surrounding surrounding on 3 sides, the defending army. How will you have the least amount of casualties?
Give it a way out.
Give a way out, why?
Because if they are strong enough to fight back,
They might kick you on that.
they might kick your butt, but if they have an option to save themselves, they've got a door they can open.
Or what about you have the option to stay sure?
I'll say, yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
Right? If there's a way out, right? We want a way out, don't we? We want that safety net. Okay? So most people say, oh, you surround the army. You'll have less casualties because you'll attack on all sides. But if you surround the army, what's the decision in the middle? You're the guy, you're surrounded, or the gal, whatever.
You need to do
I'm going to do anything or I'm dead. And you'll do anything, won't you? If those are the choices, whatever it takes. That means they fight harder, so if you're the attacking army, they kill more of your guys because they're fighting harder to live. If you give them the way out, what do when they see the battle turning in the negative? They run. And that's what a lot of entrepreneurs do. Because they don't have the risk. You could switch jobs tomorrow. You don't have all this capital invested. Right? So this company gets sued. Oh, I'm not that company. You could leave. Which means you're basically in a three-sided escape route. Does that make sense? Unless you just commit, right? Because it's a mindset thing, right? If that army just said, well, listen, guys, we don't retreat. Maybe there's the Spartans and they're on 300 or something, right? Maybe we just don't retreat. If that's just the mentality, I do or I just do. Is the only option. There's no way out. Then you'll be okay. We used to go through the same exercise with people to go sell books, door to door, and there were these Europeans that would fly over from Europe with bad English. They would talk like this and you wouldn't understand, and they wouldn't know English vocabulary, and they would go sell books, and they go, like, first summer kids make like the average $8,000 or $10,000. Europeans. And there would be rookie Americans, charismatic, great English, knows about the education system, who would quit week 3. What's the difference? You just drive home. $50 in gas, head on home. That European, how much money did you spend on the flight? And the visa? How long did you wait for that visa? There's no going home. I'm here, I'm doing it, be successful. And if you could get an American to do that, they'd make 20 grand. Right? It's all in your head. It's all in your head. That's why this entrepreneur is so important, to realize that you are an entrepreneur within this system. But guess what? If you start flipping houses, you're the entrepreneur. And man, there's a lot more stress on that. Because if that flip goes bad, it's your money. Right? So most of the realtors that we work with usually have multiple businesses. And I would guess many of you have. If not yet, you young people, you will. Right? Okay, so that's the entrepreneur. Okay? So the entrepreneur and intrapreneur have a lot of the positive characteristics too. So let's just make a list. Entrepreneur mindset, what's in there? Let's go. Got a couple in here.
Free, flowing thoughts, the ability to think outside the box, try things.
Think outside the box, try new things. I would say all in, right? Do or die, right? Entrepreneurs do or die. Again, we want to get from intrapreneur to entrepreneur today, okay? We want to get from intrapreneur to entrepreneur. Yeah, what'd you say? Take risks, bigger risks. They're willing to take a risk, bigger risks.
Right. Commitment is a good word. Most of them are they're committed because all of it's on them.
Right.
they're committed. So they're going to invest money, time, resources, mental.
Right. It's instead of treating real estate like a job or an entrepreneurial job, right, or 1099 job, you think of it as my business.
Right. Exactly.
Does that make sense? That's the difference. You own it. You know, if you get a bad review, that's you, right? Okay. Burn the boats. Burn the boats. So, this is a great one. So, conquistadors, you know, when they landed, they burned the boats. Why did they burn the boats? They landed in Americas. Don't answer if you know. Why would they burn the boats? They come here. They burn the boats that took them here. Why did they do that? There's no way out.
They are.
You survive or die, and in this case, spread tons of illnesses.
Great quote by Mike Tyson. He said, "Discipline has no emotion."
Right.
If you have emotions, and when you lead with emotions, you're always the only failure.
Boom.
You have discipline. It doesn't matter how you feel, and you look at it again.
Yes.
And that you understand that your rise goes with you, if your fall goes with you, feel it, you should take ownership.
Boom, write that down. Discipline. To be an entrepreneur, you must be disciplined or you are not an entrepreneur. Your business does not exist if you're not disciplined. Okay? I want you to write this concept down. It's called extreme ownership. And from extreme ownership, I want you to write down everything is my fault. Everything is my fault. Guys, it's not because of the real estate industry that you're not selling if you're not selling. It's not because of United Real Estate Solutions that someone gave you a bad review. It's not because whatever thing that pisses you off, there is a solution, just like I mentioned at the very beginning of this talk. Just research, figure out a way around whatever the heck is coming up, right? Something I do with clients a lot is I have them start to implement forms into their process. Samar does that.
Yes.
And Samar does that, and it saves 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes every single call, okay? Because it's outside the box. And if you do that, how many calls they do? We're talking thousands of hours a year in time savings, which is so much more in income. And they can prepare what their presentation is before they even meet the person. No one told, at the end of the day, they don't teach you to do that at AAA school, right? That's something you gotta think outside the box for. Does that make sense? So everything's your fault. So if you're getting a result you don't want, reverse engineer, how can you solve that? Why is that happening? Ask yourself, why is that happening? And start thinking of ways that you can solve that. Okay, I used to get an objection. They just infuriate me. Now imagine you're selling books 80 hours a week, okay? You're sleeping 8 hours and you work the rest of the time, okay? You're eating PB&J sandwiches and prepackaged meals in your car all day, and the only time you get out of the hot sun is when you get inside a house to have some air conditioning to dry off your sweat. And by the end of the day, you have salt stains through everything that you're wearing, okay? So imagine you're there, okay? And try to be upset with me for a second, right? And you get in, and you're sitting down with the mom, and she's so excited about the books. She's ready to buy them. She says, you say, hey, by the way, like, if you wanted to buy some books, could you buy them without your husband here? She says, oh, sure. And, you get to the end, and she says, I need to talk to my husband. Oh,
We are not.
oh! How painful is that? Right? So as a rookie and even my second summer, that phrase I was like, hey, if you wanted to buy these without your husband, if you say it in a slightly different way, hey, Mrs. Jones, if I show this to you, it would really help the kids. And you knew it was going to be good for the kids, and you wanted to buy it today. See that today? Underlined. This is why you need scripts, okay?
Yeah.
Samar's doing scripts right now. That's why you need scripts. Underline that word today, right? Just by inserting that. They would say, oh, actually, he has the credit card. So I don't waste 10 more minutes with him. I say, I'll come back later. Okay, I'll come back when he's here. Does that make sense? Is it just because of the book sales or door-to-door sales that you get the objections? No, it's because you're missing today. You're missing the word. Does that make sense? If someone's confused in the real estate process and they're annoying you to death at 8:30, why are they calling you at 8:30? Did you set the expectation to not call you at 8:30? Does that make sense? Go ahead.
Like, one of the reasons I was really interested in this topic for agents is because we offer a lot of coaching and training here. Right? We try to pull from a lot of different resources that have different topics. And if we have some changes possibly coming to the industry in June or July,
Right.
will impact a lot of the agents.
Right.
So, especially in AHO, we're going to have a lot of scripting and mastermind groups and things like that to prepare.
Yes.
But one of the things that has amazed me as a broker is I will have somebody call me and they're saying, I think I'm going to move to another company because I'm just not getting what I need here. And I am so curious. I'm like, okay, what do you need? Because number one, you've never called me to schedule a private, which I do private meetings with agents all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They want to sit down for 30 minutes and do a business review. They want to talk to me about whatever. And I'm like, you never called me. You never asked me for my help. You've never, I never see you at any of our classes. I don't see you at any of the sessions. You never come to me saying, oh, I didn't know God at decaf classes like that. I didn't know you should, well, okay, well, so we do everything we can to, and so one of the things I love that you said was take ownership. It's your fault. You've got to reach out, especially when you have help. You've got to reach out. If you want to be an entrepreneur and a business owner, because honestly, it's exactly what you said. Every person in here, they own their real estate brand. I just supervise their activities, that's all. They just fall under my license. Every one of them are business owners, and they need to think like that. So
Yeah.
sorry to,
No, you're good. You're just making sure they don't get sued.
Yeah.
That's a benefit.
Yeah, you get sued.
Right.
You get fined.
You get what I'm saying, right? So if anything, you're the insulation that makes this thing all happen and where there's less risk on you guys, which is, I would be high-fiving Kenya and bringing her donuts all the time. It's like, hey, just make sure you handle this on the back end for me. Hey, I did something a little wonky this week, so I'm just letting you know, Kenya, because you got to handle it, I mean, so there's a lot of grace, appreciation that should be sent that way. So one last thing for the entrepreneur category here that, again, I think most people don't add this to their list, and I think they miss it. They surround themselves with awesome friends who have the same mindset. Okay, just like she's saying, like, the reason someone may not call Kenya is not because Kenya is really, abrasive or something, because he's not, right? It's because they might feel bad about themselves. Because if you go all the way back to the beginning of the mindset, the employee mindset says, if I'm not doing a good job, my boss is going to come down on me, right? You've been conditioned to think that, right? And that's bad leadership. Bosses who are rude to their employees suck. So if you come from that, it makes total sense that you would think that talking to Kenya about a mistake, a question, or whatever, that she, based on previous boss experience, might ridicule you, say you're stupid, or whatever, right? And that's not healthy, and that's not how Kenya does business, right, Kenya?
Right.
So you should, and again, those people aren't here, so they're not gonna hear this, so they still may think this, right? So action, we go back to that first concept, action, right? Just showing up. Doesn't matter that you're late, whoever said they were late, you showed up. Right, there's a really good Will Smith movie called Pursuit of Happiness, and if you ever seen the movie, he gets jailed for failure to pay parking tickets, but he's got this big interview, and he gets out the next morning, and he sprints, and he's sweaty, and there's paint in his hair, all over his clothes. He's not wearing a suit at all, and we're talking big corporate America, $10,000 suits, and he sits down, and he explains himself, and you know how many people wouldn't show up to that interview? Every single person who's not an entrepreneur. Which is like 99% of people, right? There's a reason there's a 1%. There's a reason there's a top 10%, right? Comes down to that mindset stuff, okay? So that's the entrepreneurial mindset, okay? We all kind of there? Okay, so moving from this, right, we're trying to get, again, if you're in the employee mindset, you're trying to get to intrapreneur first, and if you're an entrepreneur, trying to get into the entrepreneur and owning the whole thing, okay? Might take some surrounding yourselves, might take meeting with Kenya, might mean asking questions, going after it, doing whatever, failing, messing up, that's part of it. But this is how you progress on a business level, okay? So it's called an income square. There's a million of these out on the internet. But seeing this for the first time was really beneficial for me to understand, what am I trying to even do as an entrepreneur, okay? Because you guys are now graduating to the entrepreneurial class, okay? This is what you're trying to do. So when you're an employee, you have a job. Again, time, you get paid for your time to get some money, right? When you own a job, okay, which is what you do when you're a new agent, you own a job, and that's okay. Everybody, you gotta own a job, okay, before you can own a business, by the way, okay? But these are people who are one-person contractors, out in the world, HVAC, whatever. Anything you think of where they just they have to be there for the business to exist. Does that make sense? If you were to take yourself out of the business, which most realtors are in the early part of the journey, then the business, nothing happens, okay? Does that make sense? So that's being self-employed, owning a job, okay? The benefit being self-employed versus being an employee is you make a lot more money because you take on more risk because no one tells you what to do, which means there's no management structure, at least on the corporate style management structure, which means there's more money for you, right? You get paid more to not be told what to do. Congratulations. You tell yourself what to do, right? That's usually why we get into this style of business, right? Agreed? All right, so what most people do is they get stuck right here. And they do this like their whole life, And I work with 50, 60-year-old agents who've been in the business 20 years, 7 years, whatever, and they're still doing this, okay? What I want you to do is start to own a system, okay? This is a team leader. You guys get team leaders here, right? Okay? So what happens is you help build people to be successful, right? Then you get a benefit from building those people, essentially. So if you had a business and you are an HVAC guy and you hire 2 more HVAC guys and you hand them business, and show up, do the thing, you technically don't have to be there for that job. Does that make sense? You may have to manage the business. You're still in that business. Does that make sense? Okay? But you can spend the rest of your time working on the business, recruiting more HVAC guys. We're getting more leads to give to new HVAC guys. Does that make sense? That's what realtor teams do. That's what they should do, right? They have you on the team, share a little bit of revenue, they give you leads or something, or train you or whatever. Does that kind of make sense? So that's owning it, and then they maybe don't have to sell every single house. After you've owned a system which runs without you, okay, and you built that, you're eventually going to have investments, right? You're eventually going to have enough money to have your money work for you. Okay, this is why you take on the risk as the entrepreneur, because you want to be able to get this faster to where this does the work and not your back. Does that make sense? So that's the point. So if you're learning and you're trying to go from employee to entrepreneur, these are the skill sets you have to master first. I have people who have not mastered this who try to do this. It's not good. You make a mistake here, you might lose all of this. For example, if you're not proficient here because you haven't understood how systems work yet, for example. Does that make sense? Okay, so this is the correct order. Very intuitive, right? But from here to here, this is where you're trying to go. How can I build a system? Just like I said with forms, that's part of building a system. She does not have to be there for the client to tell her the needs. You could create a form yourself that says, hey, what are you looking for? What square footage? How much money, is your budget? And you can have all of that before you even meet with somebody and know how to close them faster on working with you. Here's 10 things. I already found 10 properties for you. Other guy's not doing that. Yeah, does that make sense? People love forms, by the way, in this day and age. I do not want to tell you the information. I'd rather just fill it out. We meet, we get the job done. Okay, we all are about efficiencies. Okay. All right, so one of our last slides here. So who in here wants to be in the top 10% of most successful realtors or people in life? By raise of hands. Okay. Now, a couple of you had that comfort zone pop up again. Okay, that thing pops up. It doesn't matter how long you've been. It jumps. Okay, it comes right back. So you're always going to be fighting that. Okay. We all say we want to be top 10%, but the statistics show that only 10% will be in the top 10%. Why do you think that is? Your mindset, sure. If we look at the lines on here, and we see this line right here, right? High performance. Let's just say that's 10%. Now, on a normal bell curve, that's probably actually not. That's probably like 16% or something, okay? Let's just assume that's 10%, okay? High performers. What do you think that line is? What do you think it takes to cross that line?
Drive.
What do you say?
Drive.
Drive, sure. I would say if you're writing down over here, I would put people have drive over here, for sure. But what do you think that line is? Right, sure, that's how you cross, right? What do you think that line is right there? So drive's over here, and we could start listing off some more stuff if we don't get it in 2 seconds, which is fine. Doubt? Okay, perfect. So everybody draw this really quick. Let me draw this really quick. Just a quick little bell curve, doesn't have to look pretty. Dress it up, put flowers on it, I don't care. Do the line.
Is it like change?
This is good. No.
Incentive.
Doubt, fear. You can put doubt / fear. I would just put fear. 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 Okay? There's a lot of types of fear. We can go through them here in a sec. Okay, so fear is what splits high performers top 10% between everybody else. It's fear. Okay? So for example, let's list off what high performers do, right? So we said drive. What other things do the top 10% do?
High risk. I mean, they're willing to throw it all out, but they're willing to spend foot fences irrespective of our okay with funding.
How about write this down? They chase their dreams. They chase after their dream?
I mean, I think high achievers are committed. And they
Committed? Have a schedule? Yes.
They don't fly by the seat of their pants.
They don't fly by the seat of their pants. Right?
They've got systems. They've got processes.
Systems, they've got processes. I'd put all those again, and that's top 10%. What else do they do? What else makes the top 10%? They take action. They do stuff. Right? They show up no matter how they feel. Right? They're purpose-driven. Write that down. They're purpose-driven. They're purpose-driven. They're not emotions driven. They're purpose driven. Purpose can well up emotions in you, but there's a bigger picture, and you'll just suck it up, for lack of a better word, in those moments to reach the purpose is big enough.
And I think it goes back to something you said earlier. They have ownership.
Yeah.
Their daddy's not going to do it for them.
That's right.
Or wife. They have ownership. They're going to.
They buy in, right? They buy in that their decisions determine their outcome, right? Make sense? Okay, so that's entrepreneur, or top 10% here. Now, obviously a lot of entrepreneurial mindset type things, and we know that fear is what's holding us back. So why would anyone stay over here? Comfort, write that down on that side, comfort. What else?
Escape plan.
What is that?
They have an escape plan.
Escape plan.
If it doesn't work,
Yeah, you're good. Comfort and escape, I would say same thing, right? Comfortable. Yeah. If I don't change anything, like I can just like be here 40 more years, you know?
It's good enough. I can.
Good enough.
Let's do two watcher. I've got plates.
And I encourage everyone here that money, by the way, is not the greatest. It's not the end result. There's going to be a time if you do this right that you're going to have plenty of money. The purpose really should be the thing that motivates you. But good enough. I don't feel like I have impact. So write down nihilism. The people in this category of 90% believe that what they do does not matter. They believe that what they do does not matter. That they're too small. And they can't make a difference. That's huge. Mindset, right? It's all in their head. It's not true. Okay? What else?
Add to the list.
There's a bunch more. You could put down bad friends. So people just they don't choose their friends. You could put down ego over there. Ego. Again, this is not money, by the way. Top 10% of successful people, success is whatever success is to you at the end of the day of actual success. And we know if we compete with ourselves, what our greatest potential really is, and we know when we're not trying, right? And some of the most wealthy people in the world, the most egotistical people in the world, I wouldn't call that success. And I wouldn't call a cigarette company successful either, where they kill people. That's not my definition of success. I'm not interested in that. If you smoke cigarettes, sorry, but there's a label on there, it kills you. So does that make sense? So the line is fear, right? And fear is different for everybody, right? What are 5 fears that you can think of that would hold people back from taking action, which is their number one concept? Fear of failure. Write that down. So that line's fear of failure, rejection. What else?
lose everything.
Lose everything, whatever. Yeah. Okay. Feeling like that's a fail, right? Afraid to fail. What else?
Well, I like a confidence too, because they don't come to any training classes. It's that they don't feel enough.
Are you telling me it's a snowball effect?
Yes.
It is, and that's actually in my book. It's called The Fallacy of Proficiency. Yes. They think they need to be proficient to start. I say you need to start to be proficient. Make sense? So it's all fear. Is fear real? Is fear real in their heads? Yes, false evidence appearing real, right? False evidence appearing, false expectation appearing real, right? So fear's in our head. When we face fear, what usually happens?
You create.
Do you die?
No, 90%. It's not real.
Right? You face the fear, short of jumping off too large a bridge into water or something, right? When you face fear, do you die? So you're telling me it's just basically the pain. It's a pain thing. We don't want to face the pain, that's what the pain paradox is about. We don't want to face the pain of the rejection. You know what rejection really is, though? It's other people judging you. Should you take advice from people who judge others? Isn't that funny, though, that we do? Is judging people a good quality? Do we aspire? Does anyone here aspire to be more judgmental? But isn't it funny that 90% of people care about judgmental people's opinion? When I tell people, when we start making content with them, they start putting themselves out, they start sharing their story because people need to hear it. They start sharing their expertise, and they start getting negative comments because you will. And they're like, man, I got all these negative comments. I'm like, well, who are you making it for? And they look at me always funny. It's like, you're not making it for them, you're making it for your ideal person. And what about that one positive comment among the 100 bad ones? Does that make sense? That's the butterfly effect. When you help one person, they help other people, it makes a difference. Okay, it's why